Hey, if you're watching this right now on Tuesday, you are part of the subscriber crew, and you're going to get the best information that you can get on the Saints and everything that happened today from me, Mike Triplett, and Brandon Thomas. If you aren't signed up yet and you're catching this a day later, you're going to be a day late all week. So you might as well just sign up. We're going to run it the same way throughout training camp. So make sure you get locked in right now and become a member of NewOrleans.Football. Use the code NOF, save 20% on your first payment, and you get inside access to everything we know, all of our news, analysis, our new story features, our podcast, the overtime segment on this. Brandon's got a feature coming out on Tyrann Mathieu, a video feature that you're not going to want to miss. So make sure you get locked in for everything right now. NOF, use the code 20% on your first payment. So make sure you go and check that out. All right, we got a great episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee coming to you from our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next to my guy, Matt Bowers. If you need a new car, make sure you go and check him out. He'll get you the best prices, best customer care, best car buying experience that you can find. He's got all kinds of dealerships all throughout the region. Any type of car you want, you can go and check him out, and you will get that pricing and customer service at every one of his dealerships. So make sure you get with Matt if you need a new car. All right, we're going to break down Alvin Kamara's return, Marshon Lattimore's return, everything we've seen at practice, who looked good, who didn't, and so much more right after this quick word from our great sponsors. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. This Father's Day, show your dad you appreciate his unique style with the Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Make sure you're ready for the day. Father's Day is June 16th. And if not, maybe you just want to treat yourself. Smash that presentation, nail that deal, achieve that goal. Get yourself a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street, between Adams and Burdett, Uptown, 504-866-5433, or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett and Brandon Thomas, and it's now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints, and they should be your home for Father's Day, which is coming up on Sunday. If you haven't gotten your dad a gift yet, make sure you shoot down there, get him a Breitling watch, get yourself one while you're there. You guys can both show up to places at the same time, synchronize your watches, do whatever you want to do. Be a nice little moment for you and your dad. And while you're there, make sure you check out their fleur-de-lis necklace and earrings that are on the screen. The earrings are priced at $1,100, and the necklace is $1,350.
Lead topic: Marshon Lattimore and Alvin Kamara return to practice today. We have a lot more highlights to cover, but this is the closest we got to seeing the full roster. And why not start with the headliners? What did we see today from Lattimore and Kamara, and where do you think we're at?
Look, I think they both looked like Lattimore and Alvin. You know, I think Alvin looked like he was in shape. He looked like he had his legs underneath him. I thought Marshon had some of the same stuff going on. He had a nice pass breakup on a throw to Olave late in practice when they were kind of doing a hurry-up session. You got him up on the screen there. I mean, there's no effect with his hips. Like, he's turning and going just as quick as always, fleet of foot. Alvin's looking explosive there. So, I thought they both looked pretty good. I mean, I think there were a couple plays in coverage that I saw Lattimore give up that I think typically he breaks up, but it's first day back and he didn't have the other 9 practices. But I thought he looked pretty good overall. And it's just good to see him out there. I mean, he's back. That's the best player on the team, most talented player on the team. When he's back, he's on the field. They're different. And he's honestly a guy, me and Mike often talk about like win totals and how somebody swings them or whatever. You tell me he's playing 17, I'm giving him an extra win. Like I'm bumping him up. It's a game.
One at least.
One at least.
He moves that. I mean, Derek Carr probably moves that the most. Nature of the position, but probably more than any other player on the team. He moves that, and yeah, just watching the video we're showing on the screen right now. If you're watching the YouTube version of this or watching on the website, the whole roster just feels better when these are the top two of the top 5 guys on it, and everybody moves down a peg. I mean, there's no question these guys are special, even though I think it's probably fair to say going into year 8, both of them are probably past the absolute peak of their powers. But talking to Marshon afterward, they're getting a motivated Marshon too, who wants to prove that, I think I started offhanded asking something about, cornerback rankings. He goes, I'm number one. Like he just wanted to interrupt. And he knows like the self-awareness that he was showing, like saying, look, I've been hurt. I haven't been around. It's up to me to show everyone that I'm the number 1 cornerback in the league. So not only are you getting Marshon, you're getting Marshon at a stage where he wants to come and prove he's the best corner in the league. Even if, he ultimately maybe long-term would want to change his scenery somewhere. It doesn't look like that's happening this year, and it looks like they're going to get him all in, bought in. That's just incredibly huge for this team.
Yeah, Brandon, you talked to Marshon one-on-one after the general availability. Talked to the hardest to reach person on the team by yourself at his locker. What was some stuff that you guys were talking about?
One thing that really stood out to me, kind of building off of Mike's point about him saying he wants to be number 1, he just straight up thinks he is number 1. He says, dude, I'm number 1, and I've been hurt for the last 2 years, but once I start being consistent, people are going to see that I'm number 1. And I think that kind of confidence, like Mike said, is what you need on this team to kind of continue to build on the foundation that they've set up in the offseason. Another thing that I asked him about is how at the end of last season when he was hurt, he was on the sidelines with the young guys during that Atlanta Falcons game and really talking to them. And he was saying how he likes being the big homie to them. He likes being able to be somebody that they could come to and talk to and everything like that. Because he said he's from the outside looking in because he's not on the field. So him being able to be bought in like that and use his time not on the field to help build up the ones under him, I think it could be nothing but positive for this team.
That's another thing that stood out is his presence. I mean, guys do feed off of his energy. I mean, guys in the locker room were greeting him like he was in town, like back from college, coming back to visit. Yeah. And it's like it's a shame that it has to be a special moment when Marshon shows up, that he hasn't been here the whole time, like Demario Davis or whatever. But if they're going to he likes to do things off on his own. Alvin's the same way. A lot of NFL players are that way. And that's fine. That's why they're voluntary. But if they're getting him showing up first day of training camp, coming in here, riding with the deepest and most talented position group on the team, and they get back to that vibe where they're all intercepting passes and taking pictures together and everything like that. Marshon is one of the top juice providers on this entire team, and we saw glimpses of it in just his first day back.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, look, I think people are excited to see him too because, I was asking people throughout the week, is he going to show up? Like, I don't know if anybody, like everybody thought he was going to, but nobody knew definitively. Like, but I mean, he's kind of that guy. And look, that attitude, like of being willing to help the younger players, like it is important. And I know it's weird because he kind of got away last season, and there's like this tension, and inherently, like that kind of, it's not the best thing for the team. That's not the most but young players do gravitate to him, and he is somebody that likes to teach and help out in that room, and it could be a completely different atmosphere because like Paulson got drafted pretty high, Kool-Aid got drafted pretty high, Alante got drafted pretty high. Marshon's the guy that knows that they were open and willing to trade him, and still knows that he could have a whole different mentality towards this where it's very adversarial, but he said he never wants to be that type of guy. And,
Right.
you know, that's important. That is going to help that room. And like it or not, like, he is quite arguably the most influential person on this team, just globally to everybody, but it's specifically in that cornerback room. And he's the guy that they kind of follow behind a little bit. And, you know, I did a story on him last year in training camp, like where he was talking about like having the awareness of wanting to be someone that lives up to kind of all that potential. Like he's aware that he has the ability to be a Hall of Fame player, but he hasn't put together a Hall of Fame career. And that was kind of the goal last year. He comes back talking about wanting to be number one. You know, the story about him for the longest time was always just like the buy-in, the focus, the desire, the want to. That seems to be there. Like when he's on the field, like he wants to do that. So it's good that he's kind of still in that mental space. But I mean, this is huge. Like him showing up is huge. I don't know that it fully puts to rest the idea of it. Like he didn't even fully put to rest the idea of a trade. It was still, well, if they do it, and it's cool. Like I'm not harboring any types of feelings. I understand it. I've been hurt. I get where I'm at. Like it seems like he's taking it with the right approach. And it could, like, again, that paired him with like the drafting of Kool-Aid and the drafting of Alante last year. You could have a very bitter player right now. And we've seen different guys turn bitter in these situations where very clearly their replacements were drafted. Brandon Cooks kind of took it that way. And you could very easily let it harbor into a closed mouth, don't get fed type of situation. And it doesn't seem like Marshon's doing that.
Yeah, no question about it. And look, you said most globally influential. The other guy in the lead is right there next to him. Alvin's influence on the team. And look, you wrote and Alvin kind of hinted at, like, nobody made a big deal about me not being here the last couple of years. Why are people making a big deal out of it now? I don't know that I got the sense that this turned into a story this year. I think the only difference is people were wondering, oh, is it important for Alvin to come here because they're installing a new offense? But Marshon, we did have big question marks about, is he bought in? And the good thing is, even though he said, look, maybe they'll trade me. If it happens, it happens. He made it clear he is not demanding a trade, which is key. That's something we didn't fully know, is what is exactly Marshon's end game in all this. And he is not forcing his way out of here, which is huge. We never worried about that with Alvin. I mean, before Alvin went and trained on his own in Miami and went on that trip to Africa, he came in here, or he came to New Orleans. He went into the team facility and he met with Clint Kubiak and those coaches multiple times and talked to offensive philosophy with them. He's excited about this offense. He was the one who was probably most openly critical of how the offense wasn't working last year and they needed to change. Today, he said, change is a good thing. He had one of my favorite. We've talked, how many episodes have we done on Clint Kubiak's offense? And how players are reacting to it, what the assistants are saying, what John Benton and Rick Dennison are teaching us about it when we talked to Clint. And Alvin used the word intentional, and that's the best word I've heard to describe everything we've been trying to say. Everything has a plan with this offense. It's why it's easier for people to pick up. It's why it has some like repetitive things that they can learn and become experts at. It's why the run leads to the pass, leads to the play action, to the like intentional. And it was my favorite word that I've heard to describe this offense, and that's the vibe we're getting. And I think, Alvin, as much as anyone, is going to love being a part of this offense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One thing with Alvin though, that it is technically the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
So I mean that is something that I don't know, possibly could have ended up playing out. I don't think it was anything anybody ever discussed, or the idea of a holdout or anything like that. Like I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the idea either that it became a story. It was a little bit of a talking point, of course, because it is a new offense and someone isn't there. And then DeMario Davis.
Like Taysom Hill was here. He's not normally here for that reason.
DeMario talked about the attendance, like that kind of made it a thing a little bit. So, I mean, it was probably a little bit more of a thing than previous years. But yeah, I think the circumstances are a little bit different. But, ultimately he shows up. If he plays well, like it doesn't ultimately matter. I thought it was kind of interesting that he talked about how he was like still watching the practices even though he wasn't here. So it wasn't like he was totally disengaged from it.
He was reading NOF practice observations.
I don't know. I don't know
if
about that.
He didn't say it. I assume that's what he meant.
Look, I do think he's somebody that wants to, that contract. He knows that there's not another season beyond this. I know that there's been conversations about it. I don't think it's anywhere near close to being done. But I mean, it is something, but it's not anything that's an issue or anything like that.
Finishing up on Lattimore, a lot of people saw the physical injury. He hadn't played since the Minnesota
Week 10.
game.
Week 10.
Yeah, he hadn't played since then. But another aspect of that is the mental side of it. If you think you're the best cornerback in the league and you're not able to prove that 2 consecutive seasons in a row, it'll take a toll on you mentally. So him taking that positive approach and going out there and mentoring people and continuing to push himself and be bought into the team, like you said, that's very important.
Yep.
That's very important going forward. Next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Who stood out today? Who else stood out today besides the heavy hitters? We got a chance to see a lot of things today. We got a chance to see the 2-minute drill at the end where, the offense was hitting and then it wasn't at certain points. So who stood out today?
I had an MVP of the day, although last time I had an MVP of the day, it was Lou Headley, and he had kind of a rough day today. So maybe this is a kiss of death, but Jake Haener.
Yeah.
Jake Haener. I mean, this has happened multiple times for him, but I actually think this is the best he's looked yet. Starting in 7-on-7, he was just spreading around to everyone, looked so smooth. Then, first team session, he hits a deep ball to Rashid Shaheed, which was one of the best placed balls I've seen. It was just such a good use of Rashid Shaheed. He put it, 4 yards out in front of him and just let Rashid hit the boost button and go get it. And then he was really smooth in 2-minute drill. I think operated the 2-minute drill better than anyone. Just really has been a really good 4 weeks for him in everything we've seen, and just the variety of the things he's operating. Timing passes, deep passes, 2-minute drill, rhythm. He just continues to impress me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know that I would have immediately went to him, but as you're saying it, like I don't know that anybody's consistently made more of a positive impression on me than him, and it's damn near every single practice.
Yeah, he had a little rough one last, and you guys were watching the coaches, and I was watching the practice, and I admittedly pointed out that it was the first day Rattler had a better day than Jake Haener, but that was the only one of the 4 we've seen.
Good, he bounced back.
Yeah,
like that's even better. Like he's handled the adversity and rallied back. Like he has consistently looked good throughout these practices. I mean, his leap is apparent. He made really good use of that offseason, worked out with John Gruden, studied with John Gruden. I mean. You just kind of see the progress. It's hard not to draw a line to that. John Gruden, obviously, deep roots in the West Coast system. They're running a West Coast system here. A lot of carryover. I mean, it's a good setup for him. I think today, like just isolated today, like taking Haener off the list of guys. There's a couple of them. I'm going to leave one because I think I know where Brandon's going, so I'm not going to go to him. I thought Cedric Wilson kind of had a good day.
He's on my list.
He made a few plays, had a nice catch on an out route, flashed a little bit. There's kind of that battle between him and AT. AT had a nice catch at the end of practice on an out route, but Cedric, I think, had maybe 3 catches today, and he just looked good throughout.
One of them was a third and middle range completion on the 2-minute drill with the ones too, which is exactly what we talked about. Who can be their 3rd and 6th guy?
Situational football,
and
right.
then we see him doing it in the 2-minute drill.
Look, we're not in PJs, but I got to go with the Tahoe. I think Isaiah Foskey is stringing together a good. You knew where I was going. Yeah. I think Isaiah Foskey has strung together a good set of days where he's showing that he deserves to be on the field. Today, I mean, they're not in pads, but today he was going against Fuaka, and he was giving him a little bit of trouble on the outside. So I think Foskey is putting his name in the ring to
talk about another guy that we've said that about almost every practice.
I'm being fake here. The guy that I thought actually looked the best, and it just blanked until right now. I thought Pete Werner had an outstanding practice. There was one session in team drills. He had 2 run stuffs, had a play in coverage where he kind of dropped back, took away the middle read. I think it allowed Foskey to get a sack on that play. So it set up that. I mean, he looked really good throughout this practice.
Yep. No, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just following up.
No, look, you guys have gone right through the list that I also had them written down. I mentioned Shaheed chasing down that ball from Haener. He had 2 really nice catches. We haven't said his name a ton, but he's still going to be a big part of this offense. And one question that Kevin was asking on the members only pod was, when they're in 12 personnel, does Shaheed have that every down role in 12 personnel? And that's kind of how they've installed it so far. So I think Shaheed's going to be a huge part of this offense. Foster Moreau had a one-handed catch. From Derek Carr. That was a highlight from him. With no Jawan there.
From our angle, I didn't know, like, it was such a good catch and so difficult that I didn't know that he made it until like they moved down the field. I was like, he caught that?
And one of my favorite moments, this was not a highlight day for Taysom Hill. Actually, it was probably I noticed him a couple more times for not reeling in a tough catch a couple of times, one that bounced off his hands that would have been hard to get to. But it cracked me up. I think it was the first snap of 7-on-7s. They lined Taysom up out wide, and Marshon is matched up against Taysom. Have we ever seen Marshon match up against Taysom one-on-one in a Saints practice before? So the variety continues. And then if we're getting into people who had tough practice, we mentioned Lou Hedley, Blake Grupe too. Not as rough as Charlie Smith going against the wind the other day, but the wind did get Hedley in the kicking or did get Grupe in the kicking session. He fought the wind on a couple and barely snuck a couple through, but then in the 2-minute drill when he had to kick some from like 57, 47 or 52, he couldn't do it. He was wide right against that wind. So he didn't put a stranglehold on that job yet. Yeah. That's going to continue in training camp.
Yep. Well, we're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our minicamp coverage and hit the Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment, presented by Chabert Insurance, an Earhart company.
Earhart Agency.
An Earhart Agency. I am very sorry, Chabert Insurance, but let's get to this segment. Who's our camp MVP so far? Who stood out? We kind of hinted to it last time, but who stood out?
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
are you choosing?
Haener was going to be my vote, and we already just talked about that at length. So
Camp MVP to Jake Haener.
like,
You starting a quarterback controversy?
yeah,
here,
exactly. Well, that's true. I'm doing like coach of the year. You take a team from 3 wins to 9 wins, you win coach of the year. That's how I gave Jake Haener camp MVP. And I had Isaiah Foskey on my list in case someone else took him. He'd fall under that same category. But I have another one, but I just mentioned 2 names, so I'll wait and come in at the end.
Let's hear yours.
Chris Olave.
Okay.
Every single practice, he looks like the best player on the field to me. It reminds me of in a different way, but it reminds me of when I used to cover Marcus Colston, Jimmy Graham, Michael Thomas. It's like, it's just the guy out there making plays, and he's done it every day. There hasn't been a day go by where he doesn't get his 2 or his 4. And he just, I felt the same way about him last summer. I don't know if he fully delivered on it, especially not when we talked about his contested catches and that leading to touchdowns and contested touchdowns. But I'm bought in on him as a true number 1 receiver.
This is a tough exercise because Marshon wasn't out there, Alvin wasn't out there, Adebo missed a bunch of practices. Tyron's really not getting tested deep. Nobody on the offensive line is doing anything real. Nobody on the defensive line is doing anything real.
Right.
DeMario can't really hit anyone. I thought he's looked really good at different times.
DeMario's a good candidate, actually.
I thought Pete Werner looked really good at different times, but blowing up a run when nobody's actually maybe blocking you because you're going full speed from linebacker, it's tough to tell kind of what's real or not. So we're at Alante Taylor, the other cornerbacks that are out, like Shamir Charles, the wide receivers or the quarterbacks, or Taysom Hill. Taysom's on the short list for me. Haener, I can't do it. I can't do it. But MIP, absolutely.
Most improved.
MIP, no question about it. Chris would have been a definite pick. He makes a lot of plays. But then the non-contact jersey, get a catch over the middle today where
they're not allowed in.
That was one of the things I was going to say. You got Chris rolling around there with diplomatic immunity. I don't know if he's touchable. He's not even touchable.
I'll tell you what.
Now.
And look, I was
Alvin.
watching the ball on the play today. I didn't get to watch the all 22. We never do in practice or anything like that. I don't know what Marshon's assignment was, but he was 3 yards behind Marshon, wide open on that 7-on-7 deep ball.
I can tell you, Alvin. I was watching, watching Marshon specifically on that play. He just he hit him with a stop and go. He started his feet and then just took off. And then on the shift down, shift up, there aren't a lot of people that can outrun Marshon. He's a 4.3 guy himself with some of the most fluid hips you're going to see. But that deceleration, acceleration, it just gave him that separation.
He hadn't seen live football since week 10 of last year. But I think he was just respecting the red jersey.
Yeah, not that one. Not that one. But there was definitely a catch. He had a catch on a crossing route over the middle where Tyron had him and he screamed to make sure everybody knew.
I would have had him.
Yeah. But look, my camp MVP to this point.
Yeah. Say it out loud.
I think it's Derek Carr so far. He's looked good every single practice. That deep ball to Chris today was great. He was, I think, 6 of 7 in team. He's probably hitting. I'll do the tally during the break. Once they're done with this, I bet his completion rate is over 80% right now for all team periods. He's just looked good. He's operated the defense or the offense pretty well. But again, the list of candidates are short. I refuse to put the backup quarterback over the starting quarterback.
Sure.
Both those guys, I think, have been possibly two of the top 5 eye-catchy players in the camp. But there's, like I said, there's 70% of the roster that I just don't feel right evaluating.
It's always based on passing game.
Yeah.
And but I did like your DeMario. I didn't have DeMario on my list, but if you factor in DeMario's buy-in, DeMario out here promoting Derek Carr, they're at the night of worship probably right now. I think standing up for DA. Being vocal, being present, being loud out there. He had a killer practice the other day at the interception in the end zone. DeMario's a really good candidate. You tell me if you have another candidate, but then the next conversation is, okay, it's down to Jake Haener or Isaiah Foskey for most improved. So let's get your vote on both of them.
My vote for MVP overall, I have to roll with Taysom Hill. You're installing a new offense. He has to learn all of that, get rid of all the other stuff he was learning at 4 other positions. Then on top of that, he's just involved across the board. Rizzy joked about it today, hey, Taysom used to be our backup punter, but he's our backup everything. So having to learn all of that new stuff, it's not fully contact right now, so it's not really a test of might and strength. It's a test of your brain power, and he's out there having to do everything else. Now, the points y'all made for y'all candidates, great. You can't argue that.
No, Taysom's a good one.
Taysom, I really genuinely feel like Taysom has put in, just from his role on the team, he has to have put in the most work over this offseason and just learn everything.
And just showing up, too. Him just showing up, it matters. It matters, yeah. So, I have no
Taysom's
no qualms
a really
with
good
that.
one. And especially what you said about the cerebral part of it. What Chris Olave is doing is pretty easy. Catch some highlight catches and make the media notice twice a day. Taysom is switching positions on every play. Yeah. He's lining up out wide. He's in motion. He's at fullback. He's at tailback. He's the lead kickoff returner when they do the kickoff drill. It is pretty remarkable. All right, who we got? Haener or Foskey for most improved so far?
I got to go Haener, but just because
I'll roll with that too.
For everything we said before, nobody's really blocking, so I don't really know how much he's winning.
Right.
So I got to go with what we're seeing with Haener for it's not all real, but it's much more real than anything happening in the front seven. I mean, he looks good, man. He looks good.
I'm going with Hainer.
Yep.
They put the wolf at the doorstep. They said, hey, this is who could come and snipe you. And so he's continuing to show up day after day. Foskey, I mean, it's between him and Peyton Turner, two people that have been there, and he's just playing up. Not saying that Peyton Turner is playing bad, but I think
we're noticing Foskey a lot. Yeah,
Hainer, they put pressure on him. They say, hey, this is the cat that we want to come in and.
To this point, he's operated this offense as well as it could be operated, I think. I mean, he looks good, man. He looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from John Ernst. They ask, I guess no new news on the offensive line is good news, so where are we at on the O-line?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a little what we were just talking about. It's hard for us to chart how good the offensive linemen are doing. We see when they get cooked. We don't really see their wins. I mean, you can kind of see their win, but every win feels like it comes with an asterisk. I really laid eyes on Tali Fuaga for about 8 snaps today where I was like, I'm just watching Fuaga on this. And it's like, I think he won, but the guy in front of him is not doing everything he can to get past him. He did they did some wide zone runs today, and you know, I mean, he looks fluid. He looks like he knows what he's doing in those, but it's just impossible to give a really good evaluation. We notice them messing up more than we notice them doing well. There have been a couple times we've noticed that with Penning, but yeah, if the question is no news is good news, if we're not telling you that they look like a mess out there, it's probably good. I mean, now look. There have been 2 practices in a row. There have been batted passes. There's been pressure up the middle. There's been some tucking and running. So it doesn't mean the offensive line is winning. But no news is probably good news. I think what you don't want to hear is another rough day for the offensive line. And that's not how – these practices have not been derailed by poor offensive line play.
Yeah. I thought Penning had good moments and bad moments today. There was a run out to the right side where it looked like he – he was moving, and when he's moving in space, like it's like, man, this guy,
get out of the way.
This guy's like, he's big, he's athletic, he's fast. You kind of see all that stuff come together. That's when I think he looks his best. You know, he led the way. They had a long run to the right side of the field. He looked really good there. There was another false start by him. Foskey got him on a pressure. You know, it's just kind of what it is. It's nothing to be alarmed about, and it's nothing really to speak highly about. It's just kind of, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Like, I still think it's very much up in the air. The very first practice we saw, like, he looked good in that one. It was like, damn, this might be easier and better than we thought. And then the more and more you see, it's kind of like, all right, this is going to be a process. I think we're just in the middle of the process. And, you know, out of fairness for it, it feels bad to kind of nitpick it every single step of the way, but you know, it's there's highs, there's lows, there's middles, and you know, I think it's just going to see how it smooths out over time. I mean, but I think it is, you know, to be determined for sure.
I feel like
that was an Alvin run, by the way, the one you're talking about around the right side. Yeah, that was the one where Alvin really got out there.
I don't know, man. I feel like with the O-line, it's like cooking. You're trying out different recipes and things like that. You've thrown away a couple of pans, not having this right, not having that right, and right now you're preheating the oven, getting ready to put it in. So we'll have to see whenever they go out there and start clacking, but it's too early to kind of tell, but there's some good things going on.
Is it like Edwin cooking chicken cacciatore?
Man, that was elite. Shout out to Alvin. Makes great videos and great chicken.
That's a dub, E. Well, for our live viewers, we appreciate y'all for being tapped in, because guess what? You're all up to date on the current Saints news. And for everybody who isn't signed up, you still have another chance, because you're going to get this before the next show comes out. And we're going to have a live show Tuesday. What is it? It's Tuesday today. Yeah, today is Tuesday. I'm sorry. We're going to have a live show Wednesday night and Thursday night. So make sure you're locked into NewOrleans.Football. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.